The vanishing of Caleb Turner. Introduction. On paper, Caleb Turner was no different than the countless young men who sought solace in the wilderness. 19 years old, quiet but curious, Caleb was a sophomore at Oregon State University in 1997. He studied forestry, drawn to the language of trees, soil, and mountains, with a particular fascination for the secrets they concealed. Friends described him as the kind of guy who could sit on a stump for hours, just listening. But on October 10th, 1997, Caleb left his dorm with a backpack, a note on his desk promising he'd be back by Tuesday, and a trail plan that never matched where he ended up. He entered Oregon's Mount Hood National Forest, and never returned. What followed was a search that turned into a mystery, then a legend, and finally, a warning whispered to hikers even decades later. The disappearance Caleb's plan, according to the scribbled note and maps later found, was modest. 3 nights in the wilderness before the fall snow arrived. He packed a tent, food, a compass, and his blue nylon jacket, his mother's gift. His roommate recalls Caleb leaving with a grin, saying, "One last trek before winter closes the door." For the first 5 miles, everything was normal. Rangers who studied his boot prints said they were deep, evenly spaced, marks of a loaded pack at steady pace. Then, at a fork in the trail, his steps veered sharply off the marked path, down into an uncharted ravine. No reason. No sign of struggle. His boot prints simply chose another direction, one no hiker would logically take. That was the last reliable trace of him. The search begins when Caleb missed Tuesday classes. His roommate filed a missing persons report. Within 24 hours, the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office launched a search. Over 80 volunteers, forest rangers, and search and rescue personnel swept through Mount Hood's thick corridors of pine and fir. Dogs tracked Caleb's scent along the trail, but lost it within yards of the point where his footprints ended. Helicopters buzzed above, combing ravines and meadows with infrared sensors. But the forest gave nothing back. On the 5th day, searchers found the first and strangest clue. A single boot, upright at the base of a moss-covered tree. It wasn't fallen or tossed. It was standing, placed deliberately, toe forward. Even stranger, carved into the bark above it, were 4 words scratched with a blade. Last step, last breath. Investigators photographed the tree. Handwriting experts later said the cuts were jagged and shallow, likely made quickly. Caleb's family swore he had no reason to write such a phrase, no history of depression or cryptic messages.
Search Captain Don Ellis admitted in an interview, "We didn't know what to make of it. It wasn't vandalism, it was too isolated. And if Caleb did carve it, where was he after that? You don't just vanish."
The search had yielded a mystery, and the forest its rumor roots. Folklore in the forest. Mount Hood carries its share of stories, passed down from loggers, rangers, and the Warm Springs tribes. One story surfaced repeatedly during Caleb's search, the legend of the Staircase Men. According to folklore, deep in the forest stand forgotten staircases, stone or wood, remnants of homesteads or cabins long devoured by the wilderness. Yet the tales warn that some staircases are not ruins at all. At dusk, they shimmer faintly, and those who climb them are never seen again.
They're doorways. You climb and you don't come back. Folks say the forest calls certain people, tricks them off trail, puts the steps in their path.
Several searchers admitted privately that on the 3rd night of the rescue operation they saw something they couldn't explain. In a clearing through drifting mist, a wooden staircase rose straight up from the ground. At the top hung a faint white glow like moonlight condensed. As they approached, the structure blinked out of existence.
"We all saw it, 4 of us. But what do you tell the sheriff? That we saw a phantom staircase? We kept our mouths shut."
Caleb's family back in Corvallis, Caleb's parents clung to hope. His mother, Ellen Turner, insisted Caleb was too cautious to wander recklessly. His father, a former Marine, drove to Mount Hood daily, demanding updates, demanding action. When the boot was returned to them, Ellen wept. She placed it on their mantle, unwilling to hide it away. For years she polished the leather, whispering into it as if it could carry her voice back into the trees. "Come down, Caleb! Please come back down." A year later, in October 1998, a group of hunters reported something eerie 5 miles from Caleb's last known location. High in a pine tree, nearly 20 feet up, they found a scrap of torn blue nylon. It matched the color and weave of Caleb's jacket. No body, no pack, no bones. Just fabric, fluttering unnaturally high, where no human could easily reach. One hunter swore he heard something as he pulled the fabric down, a voice calling his name, faint but clear. It was Caleb, he later told a friend. But not like he was near me, like he was above me, talking through a tunnel in the air. The story was dismissed as nerves, shock, or imagination, but it never left those who heard it. Official closure, unofficial questions.
After 12 days, the official search was called off. Caleb Turner was declared missing, presumed dead, but even the sheriff admitted unease. Cases like this leave scars, he said. You want a body, a trail, an answer. Here, we got nothing, just a boot and a sentence on a tree.
The file sits cold in the county archives, another unsolved disappearance in the expanding catalog of missing 411 cases. Cases marked by sudden vanishings, strange clues, and locations rife with folklore. Folklore or fact, skeptics chalk Caleb's disappearance up to hypothermia, a fall, or disorientation. Yet the oddities remain. The boot. Why upright? Why placed? The carving. Who wrote it, and why that phrase? The scrap of jacket. How did it get 20 feet high in a tree? The staircase sighting. 4 trained rangers swore to what they saw. To this day, hikers in Mount Hood whisper warnings to newcomers. If you hear your name called from above, don't answer. If you see stairs rising out of the earth, don't climb. And if you find yourself compelled to step off trail into a place you can't explain, turn back. Because, as the locals say, once you take that last step, you may never set foot on the ground again. Closing image on the anniversary of his disappearance, a lone figure often visits the Mount Hood trailhead. Ellen Turner, now gray and thin, leaves flowers by the forest sign. She doesn't look down the path anymore. Instead, she looks up into the canopy, into the sky above the trees. When asked once by a reporter what she hoped for, she answered softly, "If he climbed, I just want him to come back down."